Hey guys, got up at early hours this morning and I just can't go back to sleep. I'm not sure what the time is, but I think it's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I thought I'll come and get my camera out to make this video because I just feel overwhelmed by the amount of thoughts that's just revealing itself and rushing to me in my mind. And you know, I've touched on some stuff recently and I've changed over the years. Like before, when I'm angry or upset about something, I just want to get it all out, and maybe in like anger I'll scream and shout about it. But I've kind of like changed in some ways. Like now I might give the situation time, and sometimes I find, depending on what it is, I give it more time, because if I react how I want to react, it could find me in problems, really, to be fair. Because, you know, everybody have like a good side to them. You know, people have all sides, guys, like good, the bad, and the rest of it. And the first thing that sprang to mind came to me that, you know, sometimes you start stuff and you might not finish, and you might be beating up yourself, like thinking, oh my God, you know, why have I dropped out of this, or why didn't I accomplish that, and blah, 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 blah. And I remember, because sometimes you could be like beating up yourself about stuff. I don't want to go off track too far, but I remember distinctively when I wanted to send my son to Costello. It was like even before that, which is a school that he goes to now. That was way before he even left his junior school. It's like I had the school penciled out. It was so weird. I came here. I remember distinctively, even it came to my mind recently where I thought to myself, if only, you know, sometimes you think, you know, maybe you shouldn't be so persistent, Rose, and where you were sending your kids, because like in the end, is it really worth it? I was thinking that the other day, and it come to me that actually, yes, it is worth it. And I'm glad, because yeah, it felt like it was signs to where they went to school. And I remember distinctively that I kind of like picked up at that time that those schools had really good Ofsted reports. Because I was, you know, if I have to go through everything, guys, I'm going to be here all day trying to explain the reason behind it. Because I feel like I kind of rushed through life and not really took my education seriously. Because I was more of a jovial people pleaser, still in me a bit. But thank God, I think 90% of that is gone. And it's not really to say thank God in that sense, but going back to like when you drop out of stuff and sometimes you think, you know, my gosh, I think the important thing in life is to embrace everything that happens to you through life, and kind of like, if you mold it over, not to say that I'm advocating going through life dropping out of everything, but I remember at one point I go through a phase when I thought I wanted to be a midwife. And it's the first I would say big things, because I'm more like a practical person. I more get things done with my hands. So it's like the first big thing where I thought, oh my God, this will take some serious studying if I really want to accomplish that. But when I started it and I had to talk, I had to talk my way into it, because the qualification I needed to start it was an access course. I didn't even really have that starting point. But I'm very good at delivering myself, and when I spoke to the lady and kind of convinced them that I'll make up in the areas that I'm weak in, because maths and English is like, English, it depends on what level. Because sometimes you think, oh yeah, my English is great, I never feel like I struggle, but it depends on where I was, you know. To be fair, I wouldn't say that's strong either. It depends on how deep in English you want to go. But I felt a lot more comfortable with the English side of things than maths. But I convinced them, and they put me on the course and even paid for it at the time. And I was doing access to midwifery. And I was struggling like when the teacher was kind of fast paced, her stuff I couldn't process very much. And I feel like she kind of took a dislike to me, thinking, what the hell am I doing in her class? As well, because sometimes I wanted to, they're talking about, oh, you can email your work to this and email your work to that. And that time, I never had a clue. I still haven't got a clue 100% in that area, but I struggled with certain aspects of it. But I remember, like, when it comes to reasoning and talking about like how the mind work and talking about psychology, it's so funny. It can be complex, but it's one of the things that I feel like I enjoyed, and I was really listening, and I was reading a bit into it as well when we had coursework and stuff. Like I said, I dropped out, but I feel like I learned a lot of things at that point. And I'm saying all of this to say, guys, I remember one of my son teacher come here, and I was trying to get her to like know me a bit more. So I was telling her my background and stuff like that. And I wasn't very proud of it. Like, I was just talking and telling her, you know, done catering, I'd done this, done that, dropped out of this, dropped out of that kind of thing. And, you know, I said, done care, and very trivializing about the whole situation. And I remember she looked at me serious and she said, oh, yeah, but that's all the components that made you up, like, of who you are. And I don't know how to explain what those words mean to me, but it just made sense after she put it. Sometimes people can simplify things for you, things that doesn't make sense, but when they speak about it and simplify it and you get it, I think that was like a real powerful moment for me. And I'm thinking, yeah, Rose, because, you know, 95%, one thing I ain't lacking in is confidence. But sometimes you don't play yourself, and you don't, you know, I've got that side as well where I can overplay myself as well, depending on the situation. So, you know, but in academical, I always kind of downplay things. And it's downplay and it's not downplay. It's the facts that certain things I wish I understood more or could process more. But like basic stuff, I understood and I process. And, you know, I'm going around saying all of this. Sometimes in life, you just have to accept who you are. And you just have to accept and be wise, because I kind of go through life like sometimes I thought to myself, boy, Rose, if I knew it was a competition, I wouldn't be where I am now. I definitely know that. because sometimes things happen and sometimes you don't even realize that people holding you back. Literally, in some cases, they're literally trying to clip your wings, and you're thinking, you go blindsided. One, I know 100% things I know now, and I never really knew, and I never took it in consideration at the time when things are happening. And but they'll clip your wings if you allow, because you learn over time period. And young people, like, when you're growing up and you feel like you know everything, I was never that sort of person. I was confident and positive and helpful and stuff like that, but I never go around with the assumption, never, that I'll learn everything. But I find out young people these days, sometimes they go around with the assumption that they know everything, and I think those kind of behavior is foolish behavior, because you could never know everything at a young age. And even the fact when your parents is talking to you and you think you know better, and you go through life with that kind of mentality and that type of attitude, or you're born somewhere and it's not like you're not open to advice or to listening to other people's opinion and stuff like that, but you let other people brainwash you and manipulate you and try to tell you something about where you're born. I find that extremely, I can't find the word, but I find that peculiar and sad, how you can let somebody convince you about somewhere where you're born, yeah, because of maybe the color of your skin or whatever the case may be. I don't know. That's the first thing that crops up to my mind, why that could be accomplished. But because if you're born somewhere, I think it's your duty to try and learn as best as you can about that particular place where you're born. And you shouldn't let other people convince you, or you shouldn't grow up into teen or adulthood and be convinced that that person that born the same place as you know more, I can tell you more about where you're born, which it could be the case, but you have to listen. Sometimes do cross reference, or figure it out as you go along if that person really is telling you the truth. That's what I find. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, because there's, when you're talking about one thing, there's all kind of topics around that one area. So I hope it makes sense. But what I like is, no matter what, you can see the zeal in people, and they're not afraid to learn. They're not afraid to accept when they're wrong and somebody else is right. Or sometimes in life, I'm getting all muddled up because maybe I'm going too far and too confusing off the track of what I'm trying to achieve here. All I know, like, I think back and I think, you know, when I'm growing and I'm helpful to my family members, helping out with, I started helping out very young, very young. I think I remember the point I was trying to make when, even though you're young, I think from time you get into 8, 9, those ages, you should be able to help out in a way, even before that, you know, help out, not pass the blame, not blaming others, saying that, or acting as if it's the adults that should do 100% everything. You know, I think you can help out from those days. I used to help out a lot, like cleaning. When my auntie used to go into work, I remember I can list how many of my cousins I look after, how many of my nephews I look after, to pave the way and help it to be easier for my family members to get by, to growing into my teens, helping my nieces, helping my nephews again, all the way up, all the time, looking after them, keeping them safe. You know, nobody's perfect. Never introduce them to nothing negative. Like if somebody's smoking, they couldn't dare make any of my nieces or nephews smoke. They couldn't dare. Anything negative, I must not have known about it, but it couldn't happen on my watch. Nothing negative. Even if there's people around me, they know not to mess with my nieces and nephew. It'd have to be a case of, because sometimes you think you know everything and things will slip through. But I know that never ever try to go through life where I'm clipping anybody's wings knowingly. Clipping somebody's wings, like trying to make them stagnant in growth. You know? Because sometimes when people are clipping your wings, you're stagnant in growth. You don't get to your full potential because somebody's feeding off you. They're clipping your wings. There's negative energy over you. You can't bloom because those things are happening. It's just all sorts of things just revealing, and I always try my best to think, oh Rose, don't bring it on your channel. But if I don't bring it on my channel, like, I have to. I feel like my channel is a way for me to express myself and to get out what's in me out, and the experiences I've been through, that it might help another young person, it might help another adult, because I'm just looking at the things to say, wow, you go through life looking after everybody else and you feel like you come to a point in life where everybody want to use you as a target. You don't understand why, or blame, because I think if you're going through something, the best thing is to be honest. I could never be around somebody that I'm truly upset with or angry with and eat food and drink with that person. No way. No way I could be around a person and eat and drink with them and hold them up in my heart a certain type of way. And I find like, I'm at odds with my family, because there's always a lot of talking, gossiping. And it's gossiping, we all do it. I'm always here to put my hand up. But if it's gossiping in a way where you're living on somebody's name every day and stuff like that, I don't think it's positive. And I always remove myself. I remember when I was growing up, my mother always have a problem with me thinking, oh yeah, she would be there talking, and she's like, this girl never have an input. She always see me as somebody that I always kind of stay out of it. Because it's just not me. I'll talk about people, don't get me wrong. But if it's, like I said, if I feel like it's in a way of scrubbing that person, I'll feel some type of way. So I'll probably get what I have to get off my chest, and that's the end of that. So I've never been one to be like that. Like I said, never been one direct arm. If I'm going to do direct arm, it's going to be, you're going to see me coming. Because I'm going to tell you that I'm pissed off with you. If it comes down to, you have people that you're upset with them and you might not get the chance to express that because you could think to yourself, oh, I overlooked. But if it's real, genuine people, you're going to say to them, listen, you've done this to me and I'm upset. You're not going to carry it around with you for years and years and years. Or, my family is big on pushing things underneath the carpet. And I know that sometimes, like, got nieces and nephews who think, oh, Auntie Rose didn't do this for me, Auntie Rose didn't do that for me. It don't work like that. At the end of the day, when you're only one person, you can't do things for everybody. There's a lot of people in the family, you can't do things for everybody, and you have to just learn that. And then you have to ask yourself, what do you do? You know, what do you do to help the situation instead of making problems unnecessarily? What do you do? You have to keep account yourself before you start pointing the blame and pointing the finger. If you're doing things and you see that you're doing it overly excessive, cut back. Cut back. If you're eating overly excessive, try and cut back. If you're doing something you know, especially when you know it's not right, eating is a simplified way. You can eat and it'll do damage, or it might not do that much damage. But if you're doing something like, I always say to my boy that I struggle with, the only person that can help him is himself. And I don't really speak much on his dad, but they say self-praise is no recommendation. But I think to myself, I've been quite lucky with men that I have my kids with, because I know from the start, get-go, I know what I'm getting myself into, in the sense that when I'm pregnant, I know if I genuinely want to be pregnant and follow through with that person's child. Yeah, sometimes I might feel like, oh, but I know. And even to this day, as I get older, I definitely know 100%. When I was pregnant with my last child, I didn't even know it was coming, or that would be possible to happen. But then I know when I was pregnant, even though it's not something I was expecting or wanted in that sense at the time, I knew I had to protect that child and do the best I can. And I went through it. Hell. That's why sometimes when stuff happened to me now, where, you know, when people don't know your hell and they're envious and jealous of you, that's why I don't go around doing stuff like that, like being envious of people or jealous of people, because you don't know their story. And I like to express myself. If I'm happy, you'll know. I express it through how I am. My name is just not a name for no reason. Rose. When you see a dead rose, you have to pick it and discard it, or you can pick it and keep it, but that rose ain't gonna come alive anymore, innit? And once I'm alive, I'll be oozing beauty. So check yourself when you give your kids name, and check yourself. I love all my kids, all of them. And of late, I always say to my son, we'll have a laugh and a joke with it, and I'll give them Muhammad Ali quote. And I joke with them and said, oh, the only problem you have is not knowing how good you are. Because it came into some advert, and we take it and we joke about with it. Yeah. And I think that's what make a lot of people fearful of me, because at the end of the day, I didn't even know how good I am. I just started accepting everything about me, all my flaws. If I discipline my kids, I always discipline them from a place of love. I never take advantage of none of my kids. I always want good for them. And I know that when I was growing, I never knew the values and the importance of education, or like doing things in the way. I was very just jovial and bit reckless in that sense. But I learned how important it is to make people take you for your word. And I've always known certain things, like don't be envious of what don't belong to you. Don't remove. And I don't remember distinctively where there's a particular case why I know all of this. But I know my mother was telling me prison is not a good place. So don't steal. Don't take what don't belong to you. And I always know her as a vibrant, positive jovial, happy-go-lucky woman, because no matter, I'll say things, I'll say the wrong things about my mom, but I'll say the good things about her as well. And anybody that goes around, they quite happily, you're talking negative about your mom, and they don't want you to say nothing negative about their mom. But I can say the good and the bad things about my mom, because it don't make me forget, especially the good points. I would never change my mother for nobody else's mother. I'm not that stupid. But at the end of the day, if they're doing something wrong, I am going to point it out. And I have to get to the point in my life where I don't think very positive about some members of my family. To the point where I even think sometimes when you see certain members, they're like a bad omen. This is the words I expressed yesterday out of my mouth, because it's something that's been on my mind. Anytime you see that person turn around, you know that there's a dark cloud over you and things going to go wrong. And it saddens my heart, because there can be people around you that's joking with you, that's envious. Envious, you have no clue, you have no idea, and you can't understand it, you can't capacitate it. That's what breaks my heart. Over small things as well. It breaks my heart. And sometimes I'll sit there and regret even moving to where I am now. At times. But then I'll be quickly reminded that no, Rose, don't have no regrets. Because X, Y, and Z. And that's why sometimes I'll say, sometimes I feel like kids, they're rushing to grow up. Don't rush to grow up, because I'll tell you something, when you get to my age, you'll be wishing you were young again. And I'm only 40 odd. So think about it. Don't rush to grow up, take your time. And don't rush to be in big people things and think you're big. Because big people things is not no joke thing. So enjoy your childhood and take your time. And try and learn what you can. Nobody's perfect, and I don't discard anyone. But at the end of the day, I know I'm not going to sit around or stand around and let my child speak negative to me. Really bad, nasty stuff. And accept that and take that and think that's acceptable. Because that's not how I feel I try to grow you. So don't. And that's not the background I come with, no matter what. Even if me and my mom have a fallout, I choose the word. Yeah, sometimes you slip off board, but not to a vile state. I rather remove myself from that situation because of respect. You know, always talk to my kids about respect, boundaries. Yeah, not letting people take advantage of you, but have a level of respect, especially for people in authorities. Especially if they're dealing with you straightforward, because sometimes you find to a point where you're going to lose respect. Even if they're older or if they're younger. But don't go to a place where you're the one that's taking advantage. They haven't disrespected you, but you start disrespecting them. Because, like I said, I find things, it goes both ways in terms of like me even talking about respect. Sometimes you have to disrespect a person because they disrespect you. So I find sometimes when somebody disrespect me, especially if it's a really bad way, then there's no turning back for me. Not in the moment anyway. And if you act like you're a big person, I'm going to treat you like a big person in that sense. Yeah, what I will say to family members, children, adults. I remember this quote as well this morning that comes to me when I went to one of my cousin graduation years and years ago. And my mom was always quoting that thing. Right is right if nobody do it. And wrong is wrong, even though everyone does it. Right is right when nobody does it. And wrong is wrong, even if everybody does it. So, young people out there that's growing up and thinking, oh, it's all the aunties and the uncles that's going to be, or the sisters, the older sisters and the brother that's going to be leading the way and be a martyr. How they're going to abuse the situation in terms of thinking they're the one that's going to cook and clean for them, or they're the one that's going to pave the way for them all the rest of their life. That is wrong. You can help by cutting out unnecessary stuff. You can help by giving me something to learn as well. Because people that I like to be around, they don't have no age group. It could be all types of different age, in terms of once you got something about you that make me think, I love that child because she's so positive in that way, this way, that. Oh, I love that teenager. Oh, I love that young man because he's striving for goodness, he's striving for positive. I gravitate to those type of people. And if people doing wrong, and give them your chances, and they're not learning, I think, cut the cord. Cut it. You're not going to advocate negativity. Because I certainly ain't. I'm not going to advocate to say, oh, that person is doing something wrong. So I'm going to be in league with them or make them think it's right by not correcting them. We go back to the point where if you cannot take correction and use your own brain and decipher that that correction is coming from a good place and they're telling you the right thing, well, you're going to have a tough life, because you're going to have to learn the hard way. And that's where I get to in my life. I'm not going to let people, it's like I'm not going to volunteer myself to go through unnecessary negativity. That's where I'm at. If I go through a situation today and I feel like, no, Rose, don't allow yourself to be going through that, I'm going to remove myself from that situation, especially if I can. I'm not going to go on, over and over and over and over. And it's very good for people to know their worth. And I tell my kids, each and every one of them, I got 4 kids that's alive and well. Praise be to God. And I tell each and every one of you, you got something in you. When you see somebody want to drag you into drugs, or drag you away into violence or negativity, and what pains my heart is sometimes when you allow yourself, it's like you volunteer yourself to be dragged in those situations. Or if you have your parents and you sit down and hear somebody speaking negative about your parents, and you can't correct them and say, listen, I fall out with family members because when they want to go against my mother, I think to myself, it's my mother. Yeah, I don't agree with, she ain't perfect, but I'm not going to go against her or sit there and scrub my mother. No. You must be wise enough to know that that's the person that birthed you, and that's the person that grow you. And think up, because if you can make description of what other people do for you, you can make description of what your mother do for you. So I'm not going to let anybody sit there, and anybody that is children and can sit there and hear people gossiping about their parents, and they'll sit there happily going along and agreeing and think that's right. Even if you know what they're saying is right, sometimes you need to remove yourself and say, excuse, I need to go. That's my mom you're chatting about. Or stop them in their tracks somewhere. Me, if I got any disagreement with my parents, I try explaining, might not get across. Or sometimes I just won't speak to that. I won't speak to her. I literally won't speak to her. And I give chances. So when I up and do something, it's just not because I don't give chances. I give chances. And if I got a brain to think and decipher when something ain't right, I'm sure everybody else does. And if they want to continue, we'll do it. If you're doing bad stuff and getting rewarded, that's the kind of world that you don't really want. Because that's the kind of world of chaos. And that's the kind of world where they set the system to be a lot of unnecessary falls in humanity. I love people that ooze positiveness, ooze upliftment, always trying. I feel like when I went on holiday, I haven't been on holiday for years. Well, when I went on holiday and come back, my gosh, it's like 2 weeks away. And when I come back, the amount of retribution, if that's the word, it's like I wasn't meant to go on holiday. And then people come in clipping your wings from all sides. You think about a bird when people clip their wings, they cannot fly. Those type of people, it saddens me. Because there's people around you like that. And there's no point nobody trying to tell me otherwise. Because loads of experiences, like you're in a workplace and you're trying to get a promotion and there's somebody making you stagnant in getting that promotion. I've realized that's what happens through life. You'll have your child and you're not even looking at the child to say you're competing with anybody. And straight away someone will come in your midst and make that a competition. By saying, oh, look how well fed he is. Why isn't mine well fed? Instead of you take yours and put in all the love and all the positivity and all the food, whatever you can. Don't be watching somebody else. Stay in your lane, watch yourself, watch your child. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to starve my child because you feel some type of way. And sometimes you're talking about your situation and people get offended. They don't think or thinking you've got a motive why you're saying certain things. Yeah, in some cases you might do, but not in all cases. Keep an eye on your stuff. Keep an eye on your things. And learn how to flourish. You know, there are situations when they think the grass is greener elsewhere. How about you water your garden and try and get it green? So in that respect, I'm not going to limit myself. I'm full of confidence, yes, but I have my downtimes, how many downtimes and stuff like that, where I don't have to come and preach about my downtimes to make my good times justified. I should go through my storm and I should go through my joy. Embrace all of it. And you know, good people and my son, they got friends, you know, the good ones from the bad ones. The good ones, the mom will come and say, oh, if that's how you feel, I'm really sorry. Or they'll say, oh, well, I want my son to be good at get praises like that as well. You know, when it comes genuine from the heart, it comes straight away out of the mouth. So you know, but they tell you the truth. Those are the people that are more likely to say, yeah, wow, you know, I can't take that away from you. You full of passion. You're telling me straight up. I'll have no ill feelings against a person like that. But the ones that stay behind, or eat and drink with you and they have you up in their heart, or they feel some type of way because you're flourishing, or it seems like your life is great. So they want to come and they chip at you, they clip your wings, trying to get you not to even speak about how you're feeling. Because a lot of people, they hide away from their feelings, they hide away. It's like there's description where if you had a TV to say what your thoughts are, you'd want that TV shut off all the time, basically. I want us to be proud of our flaws in that sense, to say, all right, yeah, I'm not perfect, I've got flaws, but I want us to also celebrate, because you only have one life. So try and live it the best of your potential, so you don't have no regrets, and not be there pointing fingers here, pointing fingers there. I want to come out of that kind of mentality. Yeah, don't be playing the blame game. Blame here, blame there. Get on with your life. And that's what I'd like to do. And yeah, my kids aren't going to be perfect and they fall short in here. But they know that in time they have their home. We always make them safe